All right. Good evening. We are live. Welcome to ComicsGate PrimeTime. I am your dedicated host, bearing the weight of all reason, undertaking the daily grind of the indie comic scene, Chael Roberts. And tonight I have joining me the creator and artist of Packins Land and his new book, Titan, Mouse of Might, #1, Gary Shipmen. How's it going, Gary?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me
Awesome.
on.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We have a small channel here, but we're slowly growing, and but hopefully we can help you. I know you've only got about a little under 72 hours now left in the campaign.
Yeah, on the initial part of it, yeah.
Awesome. So many people that may watch this or watching now may not know a lot about you as an artist, as a person. Tell me a little bit about you as an artist, how you began, where you started, maybe some of your inspirations.
How I started as an artist, just in general, when I was real little, like probably 4 or 5, my mom would, I'd go underneath a coffee table. We had like this wooden coffee table, and I'd go underneath it with crayons, and I'd draw on the underneath part of it, and my mom would just let me. And then she flipped the table over one time, and she saw like this crazy crayon drawing underneath there. So that was probably where he started. But after that, I've always loved animation, like Disney stuff, you know. And then as I got older and older, I found comics probably around the age of 12 or 13, and I really got captivated when I saw John Byrne and Chris Claremont's X-Men back in the 80s. And I was like, oh, this is what I have to do. I want to do this. I want to draw like this. So that was the starting point where I started saying, I'm going to start drawing and really pay attention and try to master this thing called comics.
Okay. And you are an Eisner nominee. Where did you receive that nomination for, or what did you receive that nomination for?
I believe that one was for, I'd have to actually go read it, but it's something like about best newcomer or person deserving more recognition or something. There were several awards that I was nominated for right around that same time. One was an Eisner, one was a Russ Manning, and I think there was a third one, I can't remember, but I was only nominated for them. I didn't win. Because once you're nominated, like there's a board of people who will look and review the comic books, like with the Eisners, and they'll look and say, is this good? And if they think it is, then they'll say, we nominate it. After that, it becomes like a popularity contest, and nobody knew what I had done. Like it would be listed there as one of the nominees, but nobody had ever even read it or seen it. So you basically just fall by the wayside. But it was really an honor. And even to this day, it's an honor to be nominated. That comic professionals looked at it and said, and it was for Packins Land. That was the first title. That they would recognize it and say, this is worthy of a nomination. I was really happy. I still am.
Okay. So is Packins Land and the Titan Mouse of Might, are those related in the same world?
They are in the same universe. So the Titan will interact or could interact with characters from the Packins Land world. But the story is a little bit, it's not that complicated, but the thing that the wrinkle in it is that he's not in the world that he originated from. He's in the world, if you're familiar with Packins Land. And even to this day, probably people aren't familiar with Packins Land. So
yeah, why don't we talk about Packins Land first? Because I'm interested. I know a little bit about it just from seeing the campaign and listening to you talk. But why don't you explain Packins Land a little bit to people, and then we can go into Titan.
Sure. Well, Packins Land was I dropped out of comic books like in the early 90s, like right when Image Comics was coming out, like with their first issue. I think it was Spawn or something like that. I had finally gotten fed up with the whole comic industry, and the stuff that I liked wasn't being produced anymore. And it just seemed like it's just a flood of a bunch of, and I'm not trying to put it down, but this is just what happened. This is my personal thing that happened. It just was all a bunch of garbage to me. And I'm not saying that the people weren't talented that drew, and there weren't talented writers and all that stuff. It's just, it didn't appeal to me, and it just was a big turnoff. And so I left the whole thing. I said, there's nothing good in comics. There never will be. And I'm out. And so I went and got a job as an artist for another company. I worked basically for 10 years away from comic books. And then a friend of mine who owned a comic book store said that I should read a book called Bone. And I was like, I don't want to read. They're stupid. And he said, no, read it. It's good. So I read it, and then I was like, wow, this is actually really good. Maybe there is something good in comic books. But then I was like, nobody cares about this book, so what, And he said, no, people do. People like it, and it's selling really well. And I was like, really? And I said, well, if that's the case, maybe I should do, there's something I could do. I had an idea. And so I started doing Packens Land, and this was like 25 or maybe even 30 years ago. And from that point till now, we've done about 18 issues, I guess you'd say. And we collected them all into one large volume called Packens Land Omnibus. And it's 519 pages. And it's about a boy named Paul who goes into like a magical world with intelligent animals that talk, and they have their own problems. They have their, kingdoms against kingdoms going on, and he's there. He feels like, well, he's been lost there, but he actually has been brought there to help, but he doesn't know that. And there's all kinds of, undertones and plot lines and all the stuff that we have going on in there.
Awesome. So I'm looking. I have the campaign pulled up, and it looks like it is closed, but you can purchase Packens Land Omnibus on the current Titan campaign, correct?
Yes, it is available there. I think you can get it by itself, or you can get it as a combined. You can get Titan and you can get Packens Land. I haven't looked at the campaign in that area in a while.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit foggy.
Very C.S. Lewis-esque. Is that one of your inspirations?
Oh, yeah. I love C.S. Lewis. He's probably my favorite author. I like Charles Dickens. I'd say that it's probably a toss-up between the two of them, Charles Dickens and C.S. Lewis.
Do you write it as well?
Yeah, I'm also the writer. Pretty much do the whole thing, yeah.
Awesome. So I'm looking at some of the art. Is it black and white, or is there colors in the omnibus?
The omnibus is black and white, except the cover. We did do some colored issues towards the end of when we were doing individual issues with Alias Comics, which is no longer, that was Mike Miller's company.
Okay.
Those issues were like maybe four or five. I think I was working on the 5th issue when they basically had to, stop the company. It wasn't working. So, but yeah, about 4 issues of them have been published in color, but none of the stuff that I'm offering is in color. It was always originally meant to be in black and white. And so we're sticking with that traditional, black and white.
Awesome. So this, looking at Titan and then looking at some of the omnibus, it reminds me of something that I grew up reading. Do you know who Brian Jakes is?
No.
So Brian Jakes, wrote a book called Mossflower. It's similar to Watership Down, I guess you would say. It essentially has creatures in the forest. You have your good creatures, which are the mice and badgers and hares and squirrels and so on and so forth. And it's kind of a medieval setting. And then you have your evil creatures, which are weasels and stoats and rats, wildcats, foxes. So it's good versus evil. The evil creatures are always trying to take over and rule over the good creatures, of course. And there's an abbey called Redwall Abbey, and
Redwall.
Yep. So you've read Redwall then, right?
Well, I've seen it, and I also know that we had an animated series.
Yep.
Is that the same thing?
Yes. So yeah. So Redwall was the first book, and then he did a whole series with a mouse. Well, he did a couple books with a mouse called Martin the Warrior, and I believe the first one was Redwall. The second one was Mossflower. Mossflower Woods is the woods that surround Redwall Abbey.
Okay.
And he did a whole. He's had to have done more than 20 books in this world. And something I grew up on about the age of 11 or 12. And this is kind of what Titan reminds me of, seeing it.
Oh, cool.
So I didn't know if you were familiar with Brian Jakes at all.
Well, I guess I am familiar with him. I didn't know his name. But I don't really know the stories too much. My kids used to watch the Redwall animated thing, and it seemed like it was more of a Middle Ages kind of a thing.
Yes. Yep.
But, yeah. So, yeah, I'm a little bit familiar with it.
So getting back to kind of the theme of Packens Land, when we mentioned C.S. Lewis, are there religious undertones to the story?
Yeah, there's a lot of, you could do like a deep dive into Packens Land and like pull all kinds of things out. But there's a being that's an eagle that's called the Great Eagle, and he's like an eagle of light, and that represents like God, and when Paul, the boy, is being lost, or he goes into like a forbidden area of in his world, the real world, I guess you'd say. He goes into some private property and he climbs a fence, and then he actually gets sidetracked because he hears the sound of something that's wounded, but he can't make it out if it's human or if it's an animal, but it seems like something that needs his help. And so he was going to go exploring, but then he thought, no, I got to do this first. I got to help whatever's hurt, an animal or something. He gets lost in a cave, and through that experience, he ends up landing in Packens Land. When he gets there, he sees this wounded animal, and it's a dove, and it's bleeding, and he's really hit by it. And so that could symbolize, and it was meant to symbolize Christ. And so he feels like this dove has died, and he feels like he was responsible. It's like a spiritual kind of a thing that's happening with him. He feels like he's responsible for it, like it was because of him that it died. And then it comes back to life. And when it comes back to life, it flies out of his hands and it starts talking to him, and it transforms into the great eagle, which represents God. So there's that major kind of a type, I guess you'd say, in there. But then there's other things as well that go, other beats in the story that bring out like biblical overtones.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's a book that pounds it like over someone's head or anything. I think that if somebody's aware of it, they'll see it. But if they're not, they can just read it and enjoy it. Yeah.
So there's a lot of symbolism.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, definitely looks very fun. I'm going to have to look at the tier with Titan and the Omnibus. I missed the original campaign, so I also will put that in the description so people can go check well, if it's with Titan, that's already in the description, so people can go check that out. So tell us a little bit about Titan and how this came out of Packens Land.
Well, years ago, like probably 25, 30 years ago, I had the first idea that I had, what the title I had was really sort of ridiculous, but I still have it in my head. And it was called The Banana Famine. And I told my wife Rhoda about it, and she was like, that sounds really dumb. But I said, no, it's going to be really cool. And it's about basically, gorillas and all the, different primates that interact with each other, and they have their own social, strata and things like that. So they're intelligent. This was the catalyst for Packens Land. But I never ended up doing Banana Famine, but it's still there. I still want to do it. I also came up with Mouse of Might, another thing where this one mouse becomes like renowned amongst all the other mice. But his name wasn't Titan at the time. But if you see Packens Land, the very first page that I did like a long time ago, it shows the setting is a guy going like into a library or something, and he's pulling a book off the shelf and sitting down to read it. And as he's reaching for Paul's Adventure, which is Packens Land, right next to it is a book called Mouse of Might. And then right next to that is Banana Famine. So these are books that I wanted to do, but I hadn't done yet. But now we're going to do Titan, and it's coming along really good. I think it's actually my best stuff, comic stuff that I've ever done. And different people that I've showed, like the first chapter 2, have really liked it, and people that I respect, that I feel like they're going to be honest and give an honest opinion. They've really been excited about it, and they really like it. So I'm really happy with it too. But Titan's sort of like the opposite of what happens to Paul. Paul gets lost in Titan's world. Titan gets lost in Paul's world.
Okay.
So there's a little twist there.
Oh, cool. And yeah. I heard on other streams you talking about inspirations like Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I watched Mighty Mouse, and I watched all the Disney, animated stuff, Jungle Book, and anything. I just loved animation. I loved stuff that was drawn. I loved Peter Pan. And then as I got into my teens, I discovered comics. Like I always knew that there was like superheroes out there, but I wasn't exactly sure how does this work, but they're comic books that come out every month, I didn't get that. And then you go to the store and you just see like all these comic books everywhere, like 7-Eleven or Quick Stop or something like that. And there's just different comic books all the time. And then I started getting, they're numbered and they keep going in a sequence. So it's like telling an ongoing story. And then I started getting it. And then I started collecting myself. And a lot of the stuff, like pretty much everything that I do is sort of regurgitated from my life, and probably a lot of it from my childhood, watching cartoons and, even Star Trek and the $6 Million Man and stuff like that. All of it gets pulled into the creative process, and it kind of just gets, mixed around, and then hopefully something maybe original comes out of it. I hope, something unique or a different spin on something. Okay. That's my hope anyways.
Yep. And this is 48 pages, Titan #1.
Yeah, the campaign is for, I guess, this volume, which would be volume #1. It's actually going to be 2 issues of Titan. And I finished the first issue, and I'm currently working on the second issue, which I'm on page 4, which is what you can see right here that I have off to the side.
So it'd be 2 issues of about 24 pages in length.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because I'm wanting to see if it's possible to publish Titan as a regular comic book outside of like a crowdfunding. And I'm talking with a publisher right now, and they're interested in it, and we'll just see if it develops. But they would be wanting to publish it as a comic book and not as like a graphic novel. I mean, they might want to, but I'm breaking it up. So each, like the way that the Packens Land Omnibus is set up is that each issue is a chapter, and I'm doing the same thing with Titan. So issue 1 is chapter 1, and issue 2 is chapter 2. So that's the way it'll be set up for this crowdfunding. So the thing that's unique about this is that the crowdfunding thing is going to be relatively limited, because it's not going to be, at least that I know of at this point, it's not going to be widespread, like distributed into like bookstores and things like that. We have no intention at this point of doing that, but there could be the potential that it would be reprinted under another publisher, and whatever way they decide to do it, they would do it. If they wanted to color it, if they want to collect it into one volume, or whatever they want to do. But the Indiegogo campaign here is going to be unique, more of like the insiders, like people that are aware of the campaign and they get in on it. This is like the creator version of Titan. And it may only go that far. We may just do the creator version, which is what we did with Packens Land Omnibus. I do believe that it is available on Amazon, though. Packens Land.
So it will be all black and white then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So I did close it out and open it up because I forgot to link the volume. So I want to play the video if you don't mind.
Sure.
So people can check that out if they haven't checked out the campaign yet. Screw up. So we'll play that. Chat, let me know if you cannot hear it. It's one way or the other. Awesome. All right. I'm going to jump over to the chat really quick and say hi to a couple people. Looks like we have Tom KP. He says, hello, Gary.
Hey, Tom.
That must be one of your faithful. He also says, if you haven't read Packens Land, you can come back a Titan plus Packens Land tier on the Titan campaign. And we'll show that here in a minute. But we also have Snow Frostwitch. She's a regular around this channel. So thanks for joining us, Snow. It looks like we have a couple other people watching as well. So thanks for joining us, guys. Hit that like, subscribe button for me if you would. Thank you very much for your support. And then we do want to support indie creators and people such as Gary. Gary, where have you've done some work for the big two, have you not?
You mean like Marvel and DC?
Yeah.
Indirectly, I have. Like I've worked like doing trading cards for like a licensee for like DC. So I've drawn a lot of their characters through that. It was Cryptozoic, I believe, was the company. I worked when Marvel was merging with Disney. I did like 3 limited edition lithograph type, or I think they're G-clay kind of things. They were limited edition on canvas for like Spider-Man, Captain America, and Hulk, and they're very, very rare because not many of them were produced. So I worked that way, but I've never worked like on a comic book for Marvel or DC. And the very last issue of Packin's Land was that we did as an issue was published through Image Comics. And
Oh, cool.
so I have had like connection with them, or I've kind of been around the fringes, but I haven't been like yeah, I worked on Spider-Man number blah, I haven't done that.
Okay.
But I have drawn a lot of the characters.
Kind of a question for you. What's the kind of response you get for, let's say, black, just inks, compared to maybe a full colored version of your art? Are you getting a lot of good feedback on the black and white?
Yeah, I am. But it could be that I just I have certain people that like what I do, and those certain people, they know that I'm more of a black and white person, so they're drawn to that as well. But I haven't had any negative feedback when it comes to not being in color. And even a lot of people on my channel, they'll say that they prefer black and white. I prefer it as well. There's several reasons. One is that when you're looking at a book in black and white, I even have gone back and gotten old Marvel, like the X-Men that I loved, and I got them in black and white. And I've gotten like Daredevil, certain issues of Daredevil and stuff like that in black and white, and I prefer it over the colored. And what it does is that when we're reading something like a comic book, it's a visual medium, but a lot of what's going on inside is being created by the reader. Like the author and the artist creates only part, and then the rest the reader has to fill in. And that filling in process, I think, helps people to enjoy something. It's more of an interactive, without even knowing it. You're reading a black and white book, and even a color book does the same thing. But I think black and white does it even more, because you have to fill in the colors of the sky and then of the city, or a room, or what color their clothes are. You have to fill in those colors with your imagination. And so you're kind of we're cooperating together, writer, artist, and reader, when we get a comic book that's in black and white, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I think black and white works very well with your style. You've got a lot of shading, a lot of negative and positive areas on the page, and I'm looking at the texture too of this Titan Mouse of Might print, the featured perk, where it shows I think it's a cat, right?
Yeah.
A cat, and he's got a lot of texture on him. When you have that much detail and spend that much time creating that texture, and then you've got a lot of shading, a lot of that background. It reminds me of kind of like what Kanan White does. He's got a lot of positive, negative space, and does a lot of shading. I think it works very well for the black and white, whereas some artists will fill in a lot of that with color.
Mm-hmm.
They may not add as much. They'll do clean lines, but they'll go in and polish it up with color after. So I was kind of curious as what the response you were getting for the black and white.
The response has been really good. The other reason why I like black and white is because it's cheaper to manufacture. Okay. It's not cheaper in the end, like the creating process. It's still very intense. Like I'm trying to put everything I got into the illustrations and stuff like that. So that part of it isn't cheaper, but the actual printing of pages is cheaper, because I talked with Mike Miller about this, like just with numbers. Mike knows a lot about publishing comics and what to watch out for and things like that because he worked for Marvel and DC, but he also had his own company that he tried to do at one point. And so he knows what you're going to need to be able to make in order to make it successful, like how much money it's going to cost. And we basically came to a conclusion that around $30,000, it would cost about $30,000 to do a full color book and be profitable. I mean, you could do it, and then be broke. With anything under 30. But he also said, there's variables in there. He said that, what he has to spend to sustain himself and his family is different than what I would have to spend to sustain myself and my family. He lives in San Diego. I live in the Midwest. The cost of living is different. He has 5 kids. I have 3, stuff like that.
Yeah, I can attest to that with my own experience. Getting into comics is definitely, I wouldn't say it's a moneymaker. I mean, especially when you're adding full color and you're paying others to do that work.
Yeah. But everybody's been really excited about the black and white. And I told them, there's no reason to even talk about color at this point, because we would have to make 30,000, and the Packens Line Omnibus, we made 20,000. So that was really good. And even what we've made right now on Titan, it's great. And I'm very thankful for it. We're able to do it, with this. And so it's awesome. It's fun. This is the most fun that I've actually had, I think. Because I feel like this is actually working. I'm creating a product. I'm doing it myself. And that's the other thing too, that every time I'm a little bit trepidatious about going and getting into a deal with another publisher. So I'm really going to have to just pray about it and just make sure that I'm not being foolish. I mean, it's nice to hand something off to a publisher and just let them deal with everything, distribution, the whole deal. But every time that I've done that, that's why Packens Land took 25 to 30 years to get put into a volume. It was because we would go to one publisher, the publisher would go under, and people aren't trying to go under. They're trying to be successful, but there's so many pitfalls that can happen, and this is very difficult. It can be very difficult to publish something. And so,
even with crowdfunding too,
even with crowdfunding, yeah. I've learned a lot doing other different campaigns. Like I've done several sketchbooks, and I did the Packens Line Omnibus and things like that. That has helped me. They've been smaller campaigns, but I've learned a lot of stuff. The one thing I learned probably the most is to not do so many trading cards.
Yeah, right.
And then if I do true trading cards, don't sign every one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the Packens Line Omnibus, I did 14 trading cards. I love them. I'm glad that I did them, but I sign every one of them.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah, I saw a picture of them in the campaign.
Oh, my goodness. And after you have you sign 100 of those.
You can't draw after that. You're so tired.
I know. It's just, it takes all day to fulfill the campaign. But it's cool to have them, though. I do like them. It's just, maybe I won't put my signature on every one of them in the future.
People got bang for their buck, huh? When they got those. So
yeah. So
that's awesome. Yeah, the Tom says that black and white has a nicer classic look to it. And he says engage the reader more into the story. I would agree. I just love these 2 pictures that we have up on the campaign, because it creates, with the black and white, you can create a lot of depth. I think that maybe if it were this busy with color, people would get lost in the page. And the art, it's good to get lost in the art, but it's also, you also want the reader to focus on the story, right?
Right. Yeah.
You don't want them to get distracted and then forget you don't want them skimming and going on to the next page. You want them to be involved, read the story, and then go back and look at the art. And
Right.
definitely, I love the black and white look. It looks really good.
Thank you.
And then he said he's super pumped about Titan. And to quote Nighthawk Warrior, that must be one of your subscribers, Titan is a national treasure.
Right. We'll see.
So let's look at some of the tiers. Your featured tier is a print. It's 11 by 17. Now, is that going to be on like a poster, or what kind of print are we?
It comes on like a heavier stock paper. I don't know if it's Bristol or not, but I've used it to do tons of pieces of artwork in the past, and it's so it's a nice quality.
Is this going to be the print that people receive right here?
Yeah, that's the print. It doesn't really show it very good. I should actually drop it into the campaign.
Who is is this like the main antagonist, this cat, or is this just one of the?
No, this is just one event that happens. So he's not the main, but yeah, there's a lot to the story, and I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, the prints are available now. So like, if anybody backs Justin gets a print, I send those out right away.
Okay, so you're fulfilling already on not just the print, but not the actual book's not complete.
Right. The first issue, like we're halfway done with the campaign. If we reach, if we're gonna, I don't know if we're gonna go through different stretch goals and stuff or not, but if we reach like the 10K level, I'm gonna add 10 more pages. But if we are under the 10K, I'm halfway done right now. I'm more than halfway done. I'm on page 4 of the second half.
Okay.
Also the mouse pads, the t-shirts, and the mugs, they go out right now. So people who've already backed those, we've already sent those out to people. The mouse pads take a long time to come. So
that says March for fulfillment for those.
Well, it says I just put March on there just for a safety net, but they're going out right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So some people have already received their mugs. They wrote me and said, "Oh, I got my mug today."
Awesome. So, and you're fulfilling yourself. You don't have a fulfillment company doing this.
Yeah, I'm fulfilling myself.
Okay. And then the basic book tier for the 48-page graphic novel is $25, and that is for June. So you gave yourself plenty of time, basically.
Right. But we'll get them out as soon as I have them. I'm going to get them out, but I wanted to give some time because I thought for sure that I was going to get the Packens Land Omnibus out. And we had printer problems, like major ones. They printed they sent the whole print run for the hardcover, and every one of them was damaged. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I had to go back and forth with the printer. They finally resolved it. They printed it on a higher quality. So actually the Packens Land Omnibus is a higher quality book now. But we had to go back and forth, and we lost like 3 months of time.
Ouch.
And I'm not thinking that that's going to happen again, because I've put certain safeguards in place. I'm going to be doing things in a more efficient way. I'm not going to this is another one of those pitfalls, is you let other people do stuff and people don't have the heart or the passion for your project like you do.
Right.
And so like back then when it happened with the omnibus, it would have been better for me to actually fly to the printer and be there and watch them while they do it, than for me to have just allowed them to ship everything sight unseen, kind of a thing. So I've learned from that experience, and I don't anticipate that happening with Titan.
Okay. And here we have the mug that you were talking about.
Yes.
That's shipping now.
Yes.
And then you do have a sketchbook you made last year. Did you do a separate campaign for that initially?
Yes, I did. But
Okay.
somebody said, they wanted to get the sketchbook, and they said, could you put it in the campaign? I said, yeah, I can.
Cool.
So I threw it in there, and that one person got one.
Awesome. I think I remember you doing some of these sketches. Were some of them on drawn and quartered that you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a bit of them were.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember watching some of those. Joker looks really cool. And is that Black Widow right there?
Yeah, Black Widow and Duck Dodger. I don't think the Duck Dodger I did on my own, and there's a Starfire.
Okay.
On there too. Oh, and little like cute Wolverine by the barcode.
Oh yeah, I see. What do they call that style? Is it a certain style, or
it's sort of like a Calvin and Hobbes
mashup
kind of thing?
Yeah, I love Calvin and Hobbes. I grew up on that too. That was probably one of the biggest, I guess, impacts for me to push imagination, because I mean, it was so cool. I'd buy those collected edition books, those big thick ones, or rent, get them from the library and bring them home and for a weekend. It was just those were fun books to read.
Yeah, Bill Waterston is one of my favorites.
Yep. And then we have the Titan #1 Deluxe. This is it's a hardcover. Okay.
Yeah, the other one's a hardcover too. Both of them were hardcovers. That may have been a mistake on my part, but I just love hardcovers.
Yeah, I not to sidetrack, but Earthworm Jim, or not Earthworm Jim, that hasn't come out yet though. But the Bigfoot Bill, I don't know if you received that, but that was that's good. It's just a beautiful book.
Yeah,
beautifully made. I love hardcovers, especially when they're big, thick books, full of good art, and they look good on your shelf. And there's a collector's, kind of feel to them too.
Right. Yeah.
Because they catch people's eyes. People want to take them off the shelf and look at them, and that's really what it should be all about, right? Is sharing these books. And floppies are hard to share because they fall apart after a certain amount of time, but. Yeah, that's cool. So that is this a variant cover. So you have two different covers.
Yeah, the covers aren't done yet at this point. I'm still going to do those, but I'm saving them till last.
So this is not the actual cover. It says cover TBD. Okay.
Yeah, to be announced or whatever.
Okay.
So I just used the basic image that I have for Titan for both of those. But yeah, we'll do a cover. I'm going to do it on my live stream so people can see it happen.
Okay. And then you have Titan #1 Do It Special. What does that mean?
That basically gets you a print. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be drawing a print on my live stream, and then everyone will get a signed print. But then one of the backers, there's only going to be 50, potentially 50. Right now there's 22. But one of those 22 so far is going to actually get tucked in there. When I fulfill, I'm going to stick the original in one of them. And so somebody's going to get the original artwork for the print. They'll also get the print too. So that's what that's all about.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then to the left here, we have Titan Mouse of Might fan art contest. You want to explain that a little bit? Because that looks kind of cool.
So we're doing a fan art contest where everybody who wants to can contribute. We just ask that you keep it clean because you want to respect Titan. You want to make him proud. So
Yep.
keep it clean if you want to do your best rendition of Titan, and then put the hashtag. It's a long hashtag. It's right there. It says hashtag Titan Mouse of Might fan art. So it's a long.
Awesome.
You could just, I guess, if you're on the campaign, you could highlight that, copy paste it like onto Twitter or something, and then with your drawing, and then I'll see it. And if I don't see it, you can say, hey, I wasn't able to do the hashtag. How do I get my art to you? We'll figure it out. You can just contact me. But so far we have I think 12 entries.
Oh, nice. So you have some already here listed.
Yeah. And so we're going to do like a contest, and we're going to have people in the chat vote on their favorite, and the winner or winners will be printed. And you know what? At this point, we have 12. And I'm thinking we might just publish everybody's artwork who contributes at this point into the deluxe edition of Titan. So all 12 of these guys are going to be in there, but then we will say who is the winner and things like that.
Awesome. And what does the winner get, did you say?
We haven't really decided on if the winner gets anything other than bragging rights.
Gotcha. Okay.
But they do get to be published in the deluxe edition of Titan.
Okay. And then we have the Titan plus Packins Land Omnibus. Now, this is the one I'm going to get probably, unless there's a one with more. I thought I saw. Oh, here it is, PL Omnibus. So this one is the Packins Land. How many pages is Packins Land?
519.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So you have, how many issues are in that omnibus?
Like around 18.
Okay.
The reason why I'm not exactly sure is because I did short stories like back when I was doing Packins Land, some 20 years ago.
Yep.
Different people would say like, oh, could you do like a little, 7-page Packins Land story, put it in here for my book? I'm like, sure. So I do that, or I do a 0 issue, and I did just some different things like that. And we just collected all that. Oh, I also did a weekly day in the life of, it was called One Day in Packins Land. And it was a web comic, just kind of showing the younger characters. And I did that every week, and we were going to collect that into its own comic, and we were waiting till we got like about 22 of them done, but I think we only got about maybe 18 done, and then that whole thing fell apart. So I collected all that's in there as well.
Oh,
so you're
cool.
getting about 18, maybe 19. I'm not sure.
So as a creator, just out of curiosity for my own self, what's the dimensions of the book? And it's obviously going to be a pretty thick book with 500 some plus pages.
All right, let's see. I'll measure it.
Making you work.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Where's my measurer? Okay, so it looks like it's about 8. The width is 8. Maybe 8 by 11.
Okay.
And then the thickness, like maybe a good 1.25 inches, maybe, if I'm doing that right.
Nice. It looks beautiful.
Maybe 1.5 inches.
Are you going through the same printer then for?
Yes.
Titan. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, this is an oversized book, so it's not comic size; it's larger.
Gotcha. And
so,
how did you make the original pages? I'm guessing you made them 11 by 17, and then.
Yeah, like what you see here. Can you see? I'm watching YouTube, so there's a delay. So, like, this is the size that I draw.
Okay.
Compared to this is the size that it's printed.
Oh wow! I wonder how there must be a lot of like a thicker, what do you call it, around the edges. I mean, it's not going to the edges, right? The bleeds. It's not a full bleed.
Sometimes there's full bleeds. Like there's a page.
Okay, gotcha.
They're kind of nice.
All right, so they're cool. Looks good. And Snow Frostwitch says looks good.
Thank you.
All right,
I love that this is hardcover. I just love holding it. It's been so many years waiting to get this done, and now
that's like your life's work right there.
Pretty much. Well, half of it.
That's awesome.
Because I'm getting old.
Yeah. Well, I won't comment to that because I'm not going to even ask. But but that looks cool, man. So that's the Titan plus Packins Land Omnibus. They're both hardcover. You got 500 plus pages. You said 500. How many?
519 for
19. And then you got another 48 with Titan. Potentially more if you reach the 10K mark.
48 for the 2 issues, but then there's in the deluxe edition there's going to be all that other stuff. Like I'm going to be putting in like my working process. I call it the Book of Secrets. It's basically going to be another chunk that you'll be seeing sketches that I've done, how I do breakdowns and layouts, and just kind of the working process. It's actually not meant to be like I'm not doing it to explain anything. I'm doing it just to show, like, this is what it looks like. And if you can make sense of it, then God bless you. No, you should be able to make sense of it. Like I have here's an example. So this page that I'm working on right here, this is my little Book of Secrets right here. And so this is the layout that I came up with. Like I just get the idea and I write it down, or I draw it, add some words here and there. But then when it gets done to when it goes to final, you can see how I make changes. So first panel there. Let me scooch down a little. That first panel there, it has the basic look, but maybe more detailed. And then the second panel, it was going to go all the way across, but then I decided to make it shorter. And I took these 2 panels here and I moved them up next to it. And then the third panel was going to be like him, just his hand, and that thing that was in his hand. And then I decided to change it completely in the final and reworked the whole last panel. So that would be in the book, the extended part, or the extended deluxe edition of Titan. So you'd get to see that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's really cool. I like how you have your sketchbook for your layouts that you plan, and then you use those as a guide when you're doing, your actual the drawings for the pages.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really cool. How long does it take you, would you say, to do like a page for penciling and then inking?
It just depends on what's going on in the day. If I, if I was able to just sit down and do it and not get hungry or anything, I could probably do like a page a day, maybe more. I have actually done a page a day, but I have a lot of things going on here. Like I have 3 kids. My middle son is learning how to drive. So,
oh, wow.
yeah, I have to drive him to work, but he's also learning to drive. So we have to have all that going on. And then there's just life, that happens. So it kind of slows me down. But I could do probably about a page a day.
Okay. And you do, I'm seeing a cup of ink there. You're not doing, you're doing a more traditional route of inking?
Yeah. Here's my weapons. My weapons of choice.
Awesome.
I have brushes. This one I'm using, it's a jacked up brush, and I use it to kind of get textures in there sometimes.
Oh, wow.
I'll dab that in there. Maybe use my finger, use some fingerprints. It's for
Does that take a while to dry then?
Not too long. It's pretty okay.
Yeah, I've watched Doug Tenaple do it. He does like the same, similar, from what I've seen, inking process.
Yeah. And so then I use brushes. I like brushes a lot. And then I also have quills, different sizes that I'll use to get different widths.
Okay.
So yeah. And then I use a blue pencil. So there's blue pencil on here. I don't know you can't really see it.
No, not at all.
But there's you can see the little blue.
So you traditionally draw every single page, and then are you offering any of that original art in your campaign?
Yes.
Did I miss that maybe?
Yeah, they're down towards the bottom.
Okay. So this is the Titan Deluxe with the omnibus, and then you get some bookmarks, trading cards, set of 14. That's the 14 from the first Packins Land.
Yeah, you get the Packins Land trading cards and bookmarks and the whole deal. You'll also get the Titan stuff as well.
Awesome. And then you get a hand-drawn sketch on the cover, and that's a hard hardcover.
Limited edition. I have the regular edition, which we were just looking at, but there's also like a limited edition one that has a space on the side that I can do a drawing on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and those are signed and numbered, and there's only so many of those.
Awesome. So there's 10 of those. Okay. And then you have a Titan original page, number 3. That's what we just discussed.
Yes.
Awesome. And that comes on, is it Bristol? Is that what you're drawing on?
Yeah, I'm using Strathmore Bristol.
Okay. And that's 11 by 17. I did, for my first book, I did the first 10 pages. I wanted, traditionally drawn. So he did that for me. And, I'm kind of glad nobody went for it, because now I got them in framed and ready to hang up.
Nice.
So I got the first, it's my first book that I produced, and it was kind of cool, kind of a keepsake. And nobody was, I brought it to a con. I did my first con last spring. Nobody, of course, bought it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess that's a sign. I'll just keep it and hang it up.
Cool.
And then we have Titan original page number 4. And that is 11 by 17 also.
Yeah, that's more of a splash, and that's sort of like a debut, like showing it in action. Yeah. So I'll probably throw up more pages on there.
Okay. Because you got number 3 and 5 right here. And then
and 1 and 2 they're already gone. So
oh wow, okay.
I think that number 2 is down lower, but it's grayed out to where no one can.
And then you had a early bird special, I'm guessing, for people who signed up early.
Yeah, and that's sold out.
That's gone.
Yeah, and there's page 2 that sold.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah, so the link is in the description, guys. Definitely check out Titan, Mouse of Might, and Packins Land. I would suggest both. I'm definitely gonna, I think, be going for this one right here. This Titan Deluxe edition with the Packins Land Omnibus. Good thing, probably needed a couple bookmarks, especially for that Packins Land Omnibus.
Yeah.
That's
we did 3 of them that kind of work like a triptych, kind of a puzzle. You can put them all together.
Oh, cool.
And then make an image.
So you have the 8,000, which 7,000 was your first stretch. No, not your first stretch goal. Okay, so 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. Now you're on 8,000. Every book backer gets the Titan sticker.
Yeah.
What is that? This up here? It's a trading card.
I'm not sure what you're pointing at. I'm looking at the YouTube.
Oh, what's the sticker look like?
Oh, that's the trading card.
Okay.
Where it's under the 2K.
Yep.
The sticker I'm going to still do, and the bookmark I still need to create those. but they are unlocked. And so once they're done, I've been focusing mostly on getting the story done, and then I'm going to go back and do the other stuff, like the covers and the sticker and the bookmark. If we get to, well, the sticker, we're not quite there yet, so I don't have to worry about that yet.
Yep.
But we may get there. We're pretty close. But I'm really hoping that we can get to 10K and 15K and even 20K. I mean, I don't know that that's possible, but maybe, I mean, all things are possible. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But I'd like to get there because I'd really like to do those extra pages of story. But if we don't do them, it's okay. We'll just do them later. You know,
I think every backer has their own preference on what they like for stretch goals. And I did a poll on Twitter a couple weeks ago. And for me as a creator, you know, and maybe you feel a little bit about this, even though you're doing the art, you're doing all the work. I just have to write the pages. I don't have to do it. But adding more content to the book, like story, is always like my favorite thing. That's probably what I like seeing for stretch goals. I'm glad that you have like 30 additional pages possible, because it always adds value. You know, if you build in value once you reach those stretch goals, people are getting, you know, more for their money. And who doesn't like more story?
Definitely. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about it. I'm really happy that the ideas keep flowing, and I'm getting new ideas almost every day.
Where do you get a lot of your inspiration from on a daily basis?
I just keep drawing, and then another idea will pop into my head, like, oh, do this, or oh, do that, and this weaves into Packens Land over here. Like, I have this thing going on right now, and I don't want to tell anybody. Even the guy who's helping me, Nick, I don't even want to tell him. And he's like actually reading it over and looking for typos and things like that.
You're lettering also, correct?
Well, I letter in Clip Studio, so, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing it. But really, Clip Studio's doing it.
Gotcha. But you're doing every role in this book. You're doing it. You're penciling, you're inking, you're lettering.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody else, of course, editing, which is always a smart decision.
Yeah, I have a couple of people editing because that is not my strong area.
No, I mean, usually, even for writers, you always want a second set of eyes or a third and fourth set of eyes on your work before you publish it. I learned that lesson also. The second printing of my first book, I got somebody to edit it. My wife actually edited it. She did a good job and cut a lot. So
yeah.
And I had to, you know, the first print, I had to go back and we both caught stuff because the letter, he's gonna copy and paste. You know, it's not his job to edit. He's just gonna, whatever you have there, he's gonna copy and paste it and do whatever format he's got going on and go from there. So editing is good.
It sure is.
And then at 25K, you got a patch, Titan patch. That's cool.
I think it'd be cool to do a patch. We wanted to do a patch with Packens Land, but I had already done so many like trading cards and all kinds of stuff, a foil card, all those things that we just couldn't do it. It was just, and patches, they aren't cheap.
No.
So we have to kind of push that one down the road a little. So if people really want to patch, then we're going to have to do it at that stretch goal.
Awesome. All right. So we're a little over an hour. So I want to start wrapping up. Do you want to tell anybody everybody where they can find you, follow you at? Maybe anything you want them to know?
Sure. I have a YouTube channel called Gary Shipmen Artist Pro, or you can find me under Mr. G Ship, all one, no spaces, Mr. G Ship on YouTube. It'll take you to the same place. Also on Facebook and Twitter, Gary Shipmen probably that would be it. Gary Shipman, or maybe Gary Shipman Art, I think is my Twitter.
Yeah, I think it is. I got you pulled up actually here. So it
I don't know
is.
my own stuff. Yeah, Gary Shipman Art.
Yeah.
My Twitter, and Gary L. Shipman on Facebook. I should change that. I should make them all the same.
It does make it easier. I found that out too because I have my name for Twitter, and then my channel's Comics Du Noir, and so.
Right. So yeah, and then I'm also on Instagram. I think it's Gary Shipman Art there as well. I think I did do a few of them where they're the same. Let me just double check on Instagram. And I don't have any of the stuff memorized. Yeah, it is. It's Gary Shipman Art. Yeah, I should change it over to Gary Shipman Art. It seems to be the...
Yep. That is easy to remember.
Yes.
And I've watched your channel. I would definitely suggest it to people. It's fun watching just the process if you're interested in art and, if you're an artist already, or if you're a artist that's trying to make his or her way, just watching the process and watching other people, how they work. It's especially traditional inks, like what you do. It's fun.
Yeah, we have a good time.
Yeah. And you still have, your wife is Rhoda, correct?
Yes.
Does she still go on there? Last night, I think I was on your stream and you had something automated reading your super chats or the comments.
I would just read the live chat. It's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
And we've kind of gotten, like, when I don't put it on, people will say, turn on the robot. I'm like, okay, I'll turn it on.
Turn on the robot.
Sometimes I forget, but it's actually pretty good. It helps me a lot because I get so focused on the drawing that I forget sometimes that I'm even live streaming. And then it occurs to me, oh yeah, people are watching. You might want to say hi or say something. But when the robot's reading the chat in a British, we call it Jarvis. And so this British voice is reading everybody's chat. So we have a good time, and sometimes some jokes get going, and it gets pretty hilarious. But then it helps me to engage with people that are, because then I actually get to hear what everybody's saying. Because even sometimes when I have like someone reading the chat for me, they don't read everything. Like when Rhoda used to come on, she doesn't come on anymore, just because it's not her thing. But even when she was on, there are certain ones she would read, certain ones she wouldn't. And then I have my friends on, and sometimes they'll read something, sometimes they won't. But with the bot, it just reads everything, and then I know what's going on. And
awesome.
It's like we just hang out. It's cool.
Yeah, I remember when I first started watching you, I think Rhoda was still on reading all your all your messages and comments. So. Yeah, so everybody follow Mr. Shipman on Twitter. Definitely check out Titan, Mouse of Might #1. I think everybody will enjoy it. I love the art. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And then I'm also quickly going to plug Guardians of Erloth on Indiegogo. We are in demand. Gary, are you going in demand, or are you going to close it down as soon as it ends?
No, we're going to go in demand.
Okay. So, yeah, get in. Is there anything going to be different between the campaign now and then when it goes in demand in less than 70 hours?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there are some perks that they're like first come, first serve. So once they're gone, they're going to be gone. But other than that, it'll be probably still the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, so everybody check out Titan, Mice of Mouse, Mouse #1 on Indiegogo by Gary Shipman, and that will go into demand, I believe, on Sunday. That's correct?
Well, I'm going to extend. So
extend it, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you know how long you're going to extend it for?
I have to look at the campaign. I think I can extend it another 30 days, but talking with people that have done successful campaigns, they say the best way to do it is to run it for a certain amount of time, and then once you get to that deadline, extend it for the rest. And then it kind of gives you like this, because it's like the campaigns do good like at the very beginning, and then they do good at the very end. So then it gives you like another beginning and another end, or at least another end. I'm not sure. So that's what we plan on doing. You have to keep your eye on it though, because if you aren't paying attention, it'll go right to in demand. You won't be able to extend.
Right. So yeah, that happened with me. It's happened with a couple of campaigns where I wanted to back and I procrastinated and waited and then went back to back it and found out it was already done. They didn't go into demand. Ooh. So yeah, definitely get this, help Gary out, get it as soon as possible. It's always good for the creator too, because those funds do become available sooner. That help that creator make that book a lot faster. And it's more productive for the overall project.
Yeah.
So definitely get that. You got about, a little over 2 days to go help Gary out. About 2.5 days. Do that. Check that out. Also, Guardians of Erloth, The Last Leper King is in demand. I did the full 60, but we are going to be in demand for a little bit. And right now we are at about 5,300, I believe. Yep, 53. Trying to make that 7K stretch mark. So check it out. It's 48 pages of fantasy art and colors by Ryan Best. Story created and written by myself. And then it will be lettered by Mr. Eric Weathers. So check that out. I did add more tiers for volume 1 and 2. If you missed that, so you can go, it's right here. You get volume 1, volume 2. There's a sticker thrown in there. So if you missed volume 1, you can get that. Definitely check that out. Mr. Shipman, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Thank you to Snow Frost Witch, Thomas KP, everybody else who's watching. Ray Thulu. He says it's always a party at Gary's place. Is that true, Gary?
Apparently.
What is it, Studio 64 out in California? Is that what it is there? Party going on?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate your time. Everybody have a good night. Be safe, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.